Word.
I didn't. Did you get the pie charts over, AJ?
No, the pie charts were not loading today.
Oh, all right. That's cool. So we'll go without pie charts.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? We are live. Those of you that were with us for the college basketball show, welcome back. Just saw you about 4 minutes ago. We got Ronald on from Wager Talk. You know him on Twitter as UCapper. I think he's been joining us the last 2 Thursdays, so maybe Thursday will be his day moving forward. 7 games on the board, not the most exciting slate of games, but there's a couple angles here. There's a couple spots where I think we can make some money. So let's go ahead and get it started with Nets. Oh, we get to start. This is the one. Me and Ronald disagree on this one too. So we get to start with a head-to-head. Do you want to go first or second? Actually, I'll go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll lead us off. I am on the Pistons in this one, and I know Ronald's on the Nets. That's why we get to start with a good one. We're going toe-to-toe right in the beginning. So, all right. So I can understand where he found angles in the Nets, and I don't know what he's going to say, but there are definitely angles that to be found that support the Nets. But my overall thoughts on these two teams right now is just that one of them is overvalued and one of them is undervalued. And the overvalued team I'm pointing at is the Brooklyn Nets. Now, if you're wondering how I came to that conclusion, all right, if you rewind 4 or 5 days ago, rewind back 4 or 5 games ago, rewind back to around the All-Star break time, right? The Nets are on everyone's shit list. We all have the Nets regarded as one of the worst teams in the NBA. Now, what have they won? 3 of their last 4. They're showing some energy. Who have they played? The Hawks twice with nobody. I mean, with no Trey, no Okongwu. Then they played, you know what? Rather than do it from memory, let's just pull it up and look. They've had a fortunate stretch of schedule here. The Hawks twice without Trey, without Okongwu. The Grizzlies, who are basically throwing out their G League roster, by the way. They lost that game, in case you were wondering. And then the Sixers, without Maxey, without Embiid, without Covington, a completely depleted Sixers team. So all of a sudden, with that little stretch of schedule, we're all of a sudden in a position where we're going to lay points on the road with Brooklyn? I don't think so. And meanwhile, on the Detroit side, look who they've played. When's the last time the Pistons have had a winnable game? At Miami, at Orlando. Cleveland hasn't been playing well, but they're still better than the Pistons. At Chicago, which they won. At New York, Orlando, at Indiana, at Phoenix, at Lakers, at Clippers. The last time the Pistons had a winnable game was February 8th against the Blazers, and they won. They won the last time they had a winnable game. I think the wrong team's favored here. I think Detroit wins this one outright, so I also took the money line. So go ahead, Ronald. You have the mic. Tell them your net shit.
Yeah, you brought up the same things, obviously on the Pistons side there, but there was a period before, actually a little bit even after the All-Star break, where the Nets were really struggling offensively. But if you look at their schedule in that span, it's pretty much what the Pistons are dealing with right now, right? So it's kind of like the opposite. And now the Nets are dealing with teams that they can beat. That's pretty much what you're saying with the Pistons. So it makes a lot of sense. What you're saying is just the opposite, right? If you look at the Pistons sides, they lost 9 of the last 10. Obviously, you mentioned some of the schedule stuff. They covered 5 of them. They also stayed under in 9 of the last 10 games. Most of it is not really because of their defense either. It's just because the totals in the fact that their team totals, opponent team totals are going under at a high rate, 15-4 to their team total under, but it's not their defense. It's really because they're being dogs by so much, or the opponents are favored by so much, and the totals are a little bit higher because of that reason, right? So you see them with a lot of double-digit, dog situations. Those teams, their opponents, they're going under just because they don't have to get to that point to win these games. With that said, some of the things that really pointed me towards the net side here, and one of the things that I do look at recent form. I do look at historical trends and stats. And one of the historical trends that I look at, and this has been profitable for, I want to say the last 5-6 years that I've been actually tracking it, when 2 bottom feeder teams play each other, right? And what I looked at specifically was under 400. When one is a road favorite, most of the time they're favored for a reason. And when I look at those games, 121, 82, and 6 against the spread for the road favorite in that situation since 2018. So very profitable in that span. But if you include it after the All-Star break, right, you have more games under their belt and all that stuff. 23, 9, and 1 against the spread in that same time frame, that's 72% cover rate. That trend is 1-0 so far this season. Not a big sample size for this season specifically, but guess who that trend was on? It was on the Nets, and they were 2-point road favorites over the Grizzlies, and they won that game by 23 points. So very similar situation here against the Pistons. So that's what I looked at, and that's what got me on the Nets here.
I do like what you said about how you were like, what I described was now we're seeing what the Nets look like when they are finally getting a stretch of winnable games. Also does make sense logically. I still like my side, but that was a solid point. Prop Beaver, before you get, I don't know if you
Balance.
do you have who would you take against the spread before you get into a prop?
I don't have a prop pick. I'm going against the spread. I'm gonna go with the Pistons as
Let's
well.
go.
I must say, my man Ronald, he made a hell of a case. That's quite the system you got there. Definitely scared me a bit here, but I agreed with everything you said. I do feel Pistons are undervalued, Nets are overvalued. I just think the Pistons are really gonna get out for this one because they know this is their best chance at winning a game in quite some time. Pistons defense has the edge in most of the four factors, which I like here. And what I also like is the Nets have been better offensively lately, but they've been living from above the break. The Pistons have been great at funneling shots away from that area. So if they could do that, if they could make the Nets shoot on the interior where they're much less efficient, I definitely like that here. I just think also in terms of the recent against the spread success, Pistons 8-4 against the spread, their last 12 against Detroit. Pistons 8-4 against spread, their last 12 against the Nets. I mean, my bad. 5-2 against spread, their last 7 at Detroit against Brooklyn. I'm gonna take the risk because the Nets are without both Cams. They're without Simmons here. I'm just really not seeing it, and Mikal Bridges hasn't really impressed me either lately. So yeah.
Hey, Prop Beaver, that's a great pick, man. I just want you to know that's a great pick.
I don't know if it's a great pick, but it's a pick.
Hey, Prop Beaver, that's a pick there. That's a pick right there. 72%, 16% on the Pistons. Someone said, after hearing Ronald, how can you bet Detroit? Watch me.
Yeah. I gotta say, Ronald cooked.
I think we both got it in our pocket. So I mean, we're head to head.
Yeah, I'm already in.
We talked about this before, before the show. Kyle was like, when we have these shows, we have to have these moments where we kind of go against each other because it helps with the thought process and all that stuff too. So later on, when I think about these games, I kind of think about what you say, and maybe it kind of talks me off. We'll see what happens, but for the most part, it's a learning. It's part of the learning process.
Well, that's actually I had an idea for a betting show where each person represents a side in like a court case where there's a lawyer for each side. That way, it's not someone giving a pick. It's to show that there's points to be made for each side. Never really developed into anything, but so next up we have Minnesota at Indiana. All right, let's clear the board. This is a cool game. I don't know if Ronald, you saw me in Ski's comments. I was seeing what Ski thought. I got really nothing for this game. I lean Pacers, but I think on paper it's a favorable matchup for Minnesota. Honestly, Property, do you want to go first on this one? Actually.
Yeah, I have 2 bets on this one, so
Okay.
sure. I got 1 for each side. We'll go with the away team first, so let's talk about Minnesota. I'm going with Anthony Edwards over 30.5 points. Got it 29.5 last night. Has the same exact hit rate at 29.5 as 30.5, so completely fine playing at 30.5. At 31.5, probably bump it down to 0.75 units. But I really like Edwards here, and it's pretty simple. I'm just going to play the volume. 2 games without Cat this season. Ant has a 41% usage rate. Hard to put into words just how astronomical that is. He shot 27 and 29 times in those games, scoring 34 points in each. With a 35% plus usage rate and 30 plus minutes, Pacers opposing players are 21-2 to 30 plus points against the Pacers this season, averaging 38 points per game. The books still have Minnesota as just 1-point dogs without Cat. I feel good about this thing pretty competitive just due to how these teams match up. I think that even without the offensive firepower of Cat, the Minnesota defense could clamp down here, even though Indy's better at home offensively. And since we're talking volume, with 25 plus field goal attempts, he's cashed 9 to 12 games this season, averaging 34 points per game. 21 to 28 games since 2022, averaging 33 points per game. I think he should have a field day on the interior here and should see plenty of looks. They don't really show help looks, so he should have plenty of looks on that interior, obviously driving and getting to the foul line. It's a high number, but I love it. So I'm going with Ant there. And then the other guy that I really like here, I went with Miles Turner over 1.5 3-pointers made. I mentioned it on the show the other day. Kyle will probably remember. Duop Reith, we wanted to take his 3-point over.
He
I didn't
crushed
wind up
it.
yeah, I didn't wind up taking it because we were busy at work, and he had 5 threes in that game. Centers who could shoot the 3-ball against Minnesota are money, man. 30 days, T-Wolves have allowed the most. We've recently seen Wraith with 5, JJJ with 3, Lopez with 4 and 2, Vooch with 2, Wemby with 2, all in the last month, and they also spikes in 3-point volume. Turner's already averaging 5 3-pointer attempts with Halliburton this season, and with 3+ 3-point attempts, the last 12 of 17 centers to face Minnesota have hit 2+ 3-pointers made. What I like here is we're getting a bit of a buy low because the last time he saw Minnesota and Gobert, he only had 1 3 on just 2 attempts, but that was without Halliburton. His last 2 games against Gobert with Halliburton, he had 6 and 9 3-point attempts.
Holy
and had
shit.
4 and 7 3-pointers in that game. So I just really feel this is a great spot. We're getting it at that plus money here. When Tyrese drives to the rim, he's going to have the open looks with Gobert playing that drop. I just love it.
Yeah, we always bring that up, how Minnesota plays that drop coverage, and well, actually, drop coverage wouldn't really apply to this, but Gobert doesn't get out there and close on these centers that could shoot. So 1.5 a plus money looks good to me. Ronald, I know Ski mentioned that he was leaning towards Minnesota. Can you talk me into Indiana? That's the only way I'd go, but I haven't bet it yet.
I mean, to me, it's kind of mixed signals to me. Like from a side perspective, there's reasons why I could back the Wolves, reasons why I could back the Pacers. I think if you want to back the Pacers, you're banking on the Wolves being in sort of a flat spot, right? I think this is first of a 5-game road trip following 7 straight home games. To me, that's a flat spot. First leg of back-to-back games. They got the Cavs on deck, potential look ahead there. That's a flat spot. But for the Wolves, they are the more rested team, right? The other piece is we see this all the time when the key player is injured for that first game. When that key player is out, typically everybody steps up, and that's the situation here with Cat being out. As far as the total, though, I think there's a better play on the total. I don't agree where the total is moving. I know the Pacers have been sort of a strong under team in recent weeks, but I think this is such a low total for a Pacers game. Other thing is, Ben Mathurin is out of the lineup for the Pacers. One thing that I looked at from that perspective is how the Pacers have done. There's only a 4-game sample size, but they are 3-1 to the over in that spot. 1-3 against the spread, so it's something to back the Wolves there too. Like I said, Pacers being such a fast-paced team, 227.5 right now or whatever. It seems like a really low total from a matchup perspective. Another reason why I like the over here, I can see both teams being successful with second chance points. The other piece is I think with Cat being out, Naz Reid, he's a very capable replacement player. They play similar styles. He can shoot the 3-ball as well. He can also score in the paint. The other piece with the pace, Pacers give a lot of points in transition. I know the Wolves typically don't play with a fast pace, but when you play at this level, you take what the defense gives you. So to me, I feel like they're likely to actually run a little bit more than we expect. Also, I think the Wolves get to the free throw line at a very, very high rate, and the Pacers send teams to the free throw line at a high rate. So that stops the clock. That's free points at the free throw line, which means more possessions, and you're already including a fast pace. So to me, a lot of things really pointing towards the over. Another like a long-term trend that I followed: first game home off a long road trip versus teams on the first game on the road off a long homestand. So kind of separate, or I guess opposite situational spots. Typically those go over, especially if the road team is either favored or a small dog. That's been a very strong over trend. I think it's since 2019, over 68% to the over. So
68,
putting all those things,
said?
yeah. So all those things aligned points me towards the over here. Like I said, I don't agree where the total is going.
All right. So my process on this game. I probably spent about estimation probably like 20 minutes on the game, right? Preparing the video and going through the numbers. And of those 20 minutes, I'd say I spent 5 minutes leaning towards the under, 5 minutes leaning towards the over, 5 minutes leaning towards Minnesota, and 5 minutes leaning towards Indiana. I just kept looking at numbers, and then this would point me over to this way. Like, oh, no, you know what? Maybe under's the play. Oh, no, you know what? Got to go with Indiana. I guess if you put a gun to my head, I would take the Pacers because I think as a whole, Minnesota might be a slightly undervalued team. I just realized that this graphic is wrong that I put at the bottom. It's Indiana -1.5. Proppy versus the graphic under me is correct, not the graphic at the bottom. So, because I like the way, I think moving forward, I think the Pacers might be a little bit, I don't want to say undervalued, but I think they're about like rounding into form. And I think Minnesota's going to tail off a little bit in the Western Conference standings. But I'm not betting this one. And the reason I'm not betting, sorry about that. The reason I'm not betting it is I actually think on paper, Minnesota's a tough matchup for the Pacers. They're capable of defending the fast break. They protect the rim, which the Pacers like to do a lot of. They also can score on the interior, as Proppy was talking about with Anthony Edwards. They can slash and get to the basket, something that Indiana is struggling with. So there's just too many mismatches in favor of Minnesota to actually pull the trigger on this one, but I'd lean Pacers, I guess. All right, let's see where the poll's at. 50%, 37% in favor of Indiana, so community is leaning towards the Pacers. Next game. Miami at Dallas, and I got a bad feeling here, guys. I got a bad feeling. I mean, I'll go first because it'll be a very short description. I am on the Heat. I bet the Heat. But we all know. Let me get the poll running and everything situated here. So polls coming in. Heat +4.5. Mavericks -4.5. Let's get my pickup on the board. Heat +4.5. I bet this. I'm on the Heat. It's only a matter of time before Dallas shows us they have a ceiling. We know the Mavs have a high ceiling. They're just in the Western Conference Finals the year before last. So it's not like this is some shitty team. We know that the Mavs are capable of playing really well, and part of me thinks that we're going to see it tonight, that they're going to show up. But that being said, how can you lay 4.5 with them right now based on what we've seen on the court? The defense, all of a sudden, what happened? Dallas was showing us that they could play some defense before the All-Star break. What the hell happened? There's nothing on paper that could get me to laying 4.5 points with Dallas right now, even though, you know, the like the part of your brain that's like the quote-unquote I got a feeling part. I got a feeling Dallas is going to show up tonight, but there's no numbers. There's no numbers that support that. So I'm on Miami, but I'm a little nervous that Dallas is going to show up here. Prop Ever.
Never knew that was a part of my brain.
Well, you know, when you have a feeling about a bet, but you can't really explain why. You're just like
your spidey senses, your sharp senses.
You thought it would have been less weird for me to say my spidey senses?
Yeah, I think more people would have understood that reference. Okay. Yeah, so in this one, I'm going with PJ Washington over 13.5 points. It's a legacy night for PJ. Very excited for him. Heat are a pretty stout defense overall, but if you look at it, a lot of players are going over against the Heat recently. I was looking at like the props.cash lines in terms of going over and under. They show the recent history. A lot of people are clearing their overs against the Heat lately. And then on top of that, specifically forwards are going off against them, and especially from three. Fontecchio just had 22 points and 5 threes against them. Laurie had 25 and 4. MPJ had 30 and 4. Grant had 24 and 3. Keegan Murray had 28 and 6. So not only are most of these guys hitting their over, they're absolutely smoking it. And while PJ Washington has struggled against Miami at Miami in the past, he's been much more productive against Miami at home. At home, he's averaging 18.4 points per game compared to 7.9 points per game on the road, 2.6 three-pointers made compared to 0.7, and a 52 field goal percentage compared to a 39 field goal percentage. Last 2 times he faced Miami was at Miami, so I think we're catching a nice line here, getting a bit of a discount. He's over his last 5 at home with 20-plus minutes versus Miami, averaging 22 points per game. He's averaging well over that recently with the Mavericks. I think his last 3 games he's in 35-plus. While he will have a bit less volume than his Charlotte days against Miami, he now is a top 3 playmaker in the NBA, passing him the ball, and he's getting hot. His first 6 games with the Mavericks, he was only averaging 8.5 points per game on 8.5 field goal attempts per game. Last 4 games, 18.2 points per game and 13.5 field goal attempts per game. His last 4 games specifically, he shot the ball 7+ times from 3 in each of them. So I just think that this is the perfect spot for them to try and trap Luka. He passes it out. PJ's hitting that wide open corner three, I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for him to shine here. Plus, they have his 2+ 3-pointers made juiced to like -180. He has a great hit rate with that number this year. So, yeah, definitely like PJ Washington show up tonight.
You said PJ Washington legacy night. I'm really
legacy night for
PJ. He goes. I'm really excited for him.
I'm really pumped for him.
Ronald, I know you're on the Heat, right?
Yeah, I'm on the Heat too. I think we pretty much looked at a lot of the same things, but they've been on a nice run here, 11-3 straight up, and against the spread. Also 10-4 to the under in their last 14. Obviously they failed to cover the last two, gone over in the last two as well. It's just interesting that those both were we're at home now. They're back on the road. They've covered 7 straight on the road. They've actually been one of the most profitable teams to the under on the road this season, 22-9 to the under on the road this season. One way, I mean, like you said, you got that gut feeling that Dallas might show up.
I do.
It might be because of maybe their defense. In my opinion, if you don't want to take the Heat plus 4.5, you could still probably try and take the Mavs team total under, and they could cover, right? The Heat could struggle offensively in this spot too, but for the most part, man, like I don't know if I can go against this Heat defense, especially on the road here. One thing that I really looked at from the Mavs perspective, they're not in good form. Lost 5 of the last 6 games, covered 2 of them. They've also, allowed 6 straight up points to go over their team total. But when you look at their offense, right, they've gone under their team total in 11 of their last 15 games as home favorites. Not a great situational spot for them. Only 9-12 ATS. If you look at the Heat, they do have that significant advantage on the defensive side of the ball. If we look at the last 8 games, Mavs are actually 29th in the league in defense. I think the Heat are 2nd or 3rd. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but they're up there in the top 5, top 10 somewhere. This is also a pretty high total for a Heat game. So with the Mavs being favored, that means their team total has a little bit of a it's inflated a little bit basically. I looked at Heat games on the road with a total over 225, 9-1 to the under. I believe every single opponent went under their team total in that spot as well. Road non-conference games for the Heat, 8-4 ATS, 10-2 to under. I believe every single instance in that situation, their opponent went under their team total as well. So, whether they cover or not, whether the full game goes under or not, I think I really want to just focus on the Mavs offense, which is struggling, and take them to stay under their team total. Like I said, I did take the Heat already, but if you want to pivot, I think the pivot would be Mavs team total under.
There's actually a lot of people in the comments taking Dallas here, so it's not as overwhelming. I thought everyone would be on the Heat here, and look, the poll is 64%, 31%. So most people are taking Miami here, but there's a lot of people that like Dallas. And I wouldn't be surprised. This is actually not one of my bigger bets tonight, Miami, because I got a feeling. But I hate when people say, I got a feeling. You got to be backed in numbers, and I just couldn't find the numbers to support a Dallas bet. Next up, Toronto at Phoenix, and I didn't actually bet this one. Still might.
Howard.
Okay, you took the Raps?
I backed the Raps in a different way. I went with my boy Emmanuel Quickly.
Oh, your boy. One with my boy.
My brother in arms.
All right. All right, Prop Beaver, tell us your Emmanuel Quickly bet.
Yeah, so I went with Emmanuel Quickly, got him at 31.5. If you want to bet this, it's at 32.5 now. Some books have it at 33.5, so we'll definitely lock this in now if you do like it. I just like the spot for Toronto. Coming off a disgusting 40-plus point home loss, they're now on the road where they've been better all season, especially Quickly. Quickly's always been better on the road. Meanwhile, Phoenix, you got coming off an insane upset win against the Denver Nuggets at Denver with the full starting 5. They didn't have Booker. Now they got the Boston Celtics on deck. I just feel like this is the ultimate sandwich spot. The main concern for Toronto defensively is at the rim without Podol, but Phoenix attacks the interior at one of the lowest rates in the NBA. So I think this is going to be competitive. And if Toronto is going to be competitive here, then IQ must show up in this smash spot. The Suns are just simply horrendous against point guards, allowing the 3rd most points per game, 2nd most 3-pointers made, and most rebounds per game to the position over the last 30 days. And I could present a list this wide of how many point guards have been cashing their PRA total against the Suns lately. IQ played 33 minutes last game without Barnes, despite the Raptors trailing by 30 at half. So imagine what it could be if it's a competitive game like I think it will be. And with 30-plus minutes, the last 13 of 14 true point guards to face Phoenix have hit 32 plus PRAs, averaging 44.1 PRAs, well over our total today. IQ's had a safe floor of 14 plus field goal attempts his last 7 games, averaging 16 field goal attempts. He's 8-6 this season as a Raptor with 14 plus field goal attempts, and most of those came with Podol, Barnes, and Brown healthy. That should open up rebounding attempts. That should open up assist chances, and it should open up volume. I just trust the volume and the potential assists and rebounds to get there today in what's been a smash spot for every point guard to enter Phoenix this year.
Yeah, I mean, I would get behind most overs in this game. Ski likes the over too, which is kind of on point to what I was thinking. Ron, you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, over makes sense. Over makes sense to me, but I think the reason to back the Raptors here, I think probably we kind of touched on it, is that clear sandwich spot. You know, they just beat the Nuggets on the road in OT. Now they're double-digit favorites against a weak Raptors team. Then they got the Celtics on deck at home on Saturday. I mean, to me, that can't be any more clear of a sandwich spot than we can recall in more recent games. But I think a lot of people are going to fade Toronto just because Barnes is out, Pirtle and Brown are out. But I think as double-digit favorites, I don't think the Suns have been doing that well at all this season. If I remember correctly, they're not profitable. I know that for sure. They're under 500 as double-digit favorites, and now they're not going to have Booker. I mean, I think that's a tough call here, especially with the, you know, for me, I would think that the back door would be open in this last part of in the fourth quarter. This is one of those situations where they could probably, you know, if you want the Suns, take them in the first half probably, and then you kind of just like maybe take the Raptors live or something like that. But for me, I don't have a problem actually taking the Raptors full game on the double-digit dogs here. To me, it's just too much of a number. I think my model here without Booker has this closer to +7. So I got to take the Raptors here.
Yeah, agreed. That's where I'm at as well. And I mean, what you said about the sandwich spot is perfect. I don't even need to repeat it. It's a terrible spot for Phoenix, especially not just is it a terrible spot for Phoenix, but I mean, this really hasn't been a profitable spot for Phoenix all year as far as laying a big number at home against a bad team. Suns haven't been profitable there. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I've been on the receiving end of it a few times. You got a Raptors team coming off an embarrassing loss, man. They got the shit beat out of them in their last game against the Pelicans, a game where Pelicans shot 14 of 29 from 3. So you got, I always like to bet a team coming off of a humiliating loss, right? You got the Toronto in that spot. On the road in Phoenix, Toronto has now moved from second into first in fast break frequency. So they've actually been turning up the tempo as the season progresses. I mean, the last thing the Phoenix Suns want to deal with in between their Nuggets and Celtics games is this stupid Toronto Raptors team that's going to be running 100 miles an hour all game. I mean, they're not trying to play defense on this team. They know to put the word Ski used exactly was they know they could score 125 points on this team easily. So defense is not going to be a priority for the Suns. And I think the Raptors are going to stay in this one. I do like what Ronald said about if you like the Suns, play it on the first half because the back door should be open. I could see that. But I didn't actually bet this one, but kind of talking myself into it. I might end up adding one more post on the website with a small Raptors +10 bet. So, yeah, I'm on Toronto.
I just pulled the stats for Suns double-digit favorites at home. They're 2-4 ATS. They lost outright to the Spurs one game. The 2 games that they did cover,
I remember that game.
They covered by the hook against the Blazers, and then they covered by a single bucket against the Pistons a couple weeks ago. So even when they do cover, it's really tight. But when they're not covering, it's by margin. So that's even more reason to back the Raptors here.
Yeah. You know what? I probably am going to bet this. But right after the show, I'll probably put one more post up on the site and place the bet. 48%, 47, 34%. So community agrees that they would lean towards Raptors and the points. Spurs at Kings. Ronald has a bet he likes it in this one, right? Team total over?
Yeah, team total over on this one. You want me to start off?
Yeah, it starts off.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you look at the Spurs here coming off that double-digit loss to the Rockets, I think they've been on the road a lot. That's one pause for me on taking this. Initially taking this, but I think there's more pros to taking the team total over than just that. If you look at the Kings here, right, they're coming off of that nice win, obviously, against the Lakers last night. Not that great on the second leg of back-to-back games. Only 4-5 straight up, 3-6 against the spread. And if they're favored in that spot, 1-4 ATS. So not a good situation for them. I know, Wemby's going to be out, but I looked at how the Spurs do without Wembanyama. They're actually, obviously not favorable, 3-4 ATS, but 6-1 to the over. They score 5.6 more points per game without him in the lineup because they tend to push the pace a little bit more. But they also, they actually allow nine more points per game as well. So if you want to take the full game over, you can. But the reason why I kind of stayed off the full game, focused on the Spurs team total, is the Kings as double-digit favorites at home. 0-4 ATS, 3-1 to the over. All four opponents went over their team total by margin. And if you look at the team list of who these games were against, it was the Wizards, Hornets, Pistons, and then the Spurs a couple weeks ago. So similar situation here for the Spurs. They played down. Basically, the Kings played down to their opponent's level, and then more stuff to back the Spurs and the team total over here. If the Kings are off a road game, at home and off a road game, that's a specific situation they're in right now. They're 2-9 ATS, and their opponents have gone over their team total in all 11 of those games. The Kings themselves, they've stayed under their team total in 5 of the last 6 instances. And that's the reason why I kind of stayed off of the full game over and focused on the Spurs. But the one time they did go over in that last 6 in the last 6 instances, they went over by the hook, just a small margin. So another interesting thing too. Last time it actually happened was against the Bulls on Monday. I think all of us were on the Bulls that day as well. But the Bulls went over their team total. They covered. They won that game outright, I believe. The Kings stayed under their team total by such a big margin that they went under in the full game. So another reason why I kind of stayed off the full game, focused on the Spurs team total. That's what I had on that one. I pulled the trigger on that one early. I think the number is a little bit different now, but Spurs team total over for me.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like the decision is pretty easy to make here, even though I get it. It's the Spurs without Wembanyama. I completely get it. But you know what? Didn't this Kings team lose outright to the Hornets when they were missing the whole team? Probably weren't they missing everybody in that game?
Like I said, they played down to their opponents.
Yeah. Everybody except Rozier and Bridges were sitting.
Yeah, the Hornets' entire team was out. It was a line like this, and the Hornets came in and beat them. I know because I had Charlotte money line, because that's just what I do when the Kings are at home laying a big number against a bad team. You just take the other team. You don't worried about who's playing or what the matchup is because it's just not favorable. So yeah, I'm definitely on the Spurs here. I don't absolutely love it because I don't really know what to think about the Spurs team. Honestly, I haven't had a good feel for them all season, but in this spot, you fade the Kings when they're at home against a bad team. This is how the Kings season is. Upset win last night over the Lakers, right? When everyone starts to think, wow, the Kings are good this year, that's when you fade them. At home against the bad team when everyone's expecting them to win. And then you know what? They'll lose this game to the Spurs. Then they'll go on the road and play the Clippers next week. And it'll be Clippers -5. And everyone will be like, fade the Kings. They suck. You'll see me on Kings money line against the Clippers at +5. They play up to their competition. They play down to their competition. Yeah, so it's not to mention a back-to-back for the Kings also coming off actually, the end of that game wasn't very dramatic. The Kings ended up winning by margin. But yeah, got to bet the Spurs simply because you just don't take the Kings in this spot. That simple. Crop Beaver?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even have to look at the numbers here to tell you I'm on the Spurs. Kings now 4-11 against the spread. Their last 15 as home favorites. As favorites is 6.5 or more points at home this season. They are 2-8 against the spread.
2-8?
Yeah, they're coming off an emotional high of a win over the Los Angeles Lakers. And the night before, 2 nights before, they were coming off that devastating loss. It's just an emotional roller coaster for these Kings right now. And how are you really getting up for this game against these dog shit Spurs? I don't really know about that. Another thing that I like is I got to give credit to Ahan Varunta on Twitter. It's a guy that I follow, good guy. He had a nice trend. He played the Spurs tonight. Since 1995, home teams on no rest, coming off a win with 120 plus points, are 21-56 against the spread against teams with rest. Fading these teams in that span is a 73% win rate and a 39% return on
Hold on.
interest investment.
So hold on. So you're saying teams? Because I like when the trend has some logic. So you're saying teams on a back to?
Logic.
I know. I think it does. That's why I'm clarifying for those who didn't understand what you said. So teams that have an explosive night, scored 120 plus points, and have a back-to-back with no rest, are
facing a team that had rest,
has a terrible record against the spread. 73% winners. You said
73% win rate fading them.
Spurs up. Let's do it.
Spurs up, baby.
Spurs up.
Hey, if that goes on the money line parlay, man, that's gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
It's gonna be another 1,000 plus 1,000 something.
We were joking about that because Ski comes on the show and he gets like a plus 241 community parlay. Then Ronald comes on and it's like plus 1,900.
Yeah, you just want to win.
The community takes like home run swings for Ronald. All right, great game coming up. You guys know I'm on the Nugs. Already bet it. So I'll go first real quick. So if you're on the Celtics, I just want to say I get it. If you're just looking at a vacuum the last month, last 2 weeks, whatever you want to do, Boston has been the better team. But I'm betting the Nuggets based on more than just a vacuum of that. I think that if we back up and look at maybe the entire season or just as a whole and include last season, I think Denver's going to get up for this game. The idea of laying points to the Nuggets on the road in Denver is kind of crazy to me. I know the Celtics look great, but still, have they shown us they can win this game, right? Because as of right now, it's not like we've never seen this Jason Tatum-led Celtics team look dominant in the regular season. I feel like we see it every year. But can they win this game on the road in Denver? Now the angle for Boston that you're like, oh, they're coming off the humiliating blown lead loss to the Cavs. You could say the same thing. Denver's coming off a humiliating loss at home to the Suns with no Booker. So the Denver's also in a bounce back spot. When's the last time the Nuggets lost back-to-back home games? I don't know the answer to that. I'm sure it's been a while. So the Nuggets coming off a home loss. And here's the thing. And here was what and I actually didn't really even talk about this on the video. So for maybe some of you will find this interesting. So this is what ultimately put me on Denver. So I was looking at the Nuggets defensive numbers recently, right? Because the Nuggets are playing pretty good defense. It doesn't get talked about, but they are playing some good defense. What the shot frequency numbers for the Nuggets defense, it's good at the rim and good on the three-point line. Meaning they're not allowing a lot of shot attempts there. And what that said to me is the Nuggets are forcing their opponents to take mid-range shots. That's what the frequency numbers show in the last 10 games for Denver. That is a nightmare matchup for Boston that literally never takes the mid-range shot other than Kristaps Porzingis. He's the only one. So I'm on Denver here. I'm still not convinced that. I'm still not willing to sit here and be like the Celtics are better than the Nuggets. The defending champions at home getting a point? No way. Give me the Nuggets. I don't even know what Ronald's on in this one, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. So this one, I mean, you brought up some really good points because I was leaning towards the Celtics. I didn't take the side here. I did take a team total though. Obviously the Celtics coming off of that loss against the Cavs, 11-1 straight up after a loss for the Celtics. But you mentioned the Nuggets coming off an outright loss at home, and I didn't even look this up until you mentioned it, but I just looked it up right now. 5-0 straight up and against the spread. Man, they're winning by margin in those games too. I think the last 4 instances they won by at least 17 points in each one of those games, but they were heavy favorites in that spot. So obviously you don't see the Nuggets as dogs too often. The reason why I focused on a team total here, just historic matchup between these two teams. If you look back to, the last 7 instances, last 7 matchups, the Nuggets have stayed under their team total in 6 of their last 7 matchups. And for me, and this goes back since before the All-Star break, I really haven't trusted the Nuggets offense for a while. They couldn't even get over their team total in a game where there was, they had an OT. They faced one of the best defensive teams in the league now, right? With the Celtics, obviously coming off a loss, so they're going to want to bounce back. I assume they're going to bring, top-notch defense. They've been consistent with their defense all season long, right? Second in the league in defensive rating, on the season, 3rd in the last 8 games. So like I said, their defense is really consistent. One thing on the Nuggets side, whether they win or cover, they're 15-5 to their team total under in their last 20 games. So, their offense is just hasn't been there, to be that trustworthy. So one thing that I did, I skipped the full game total. I skipped the spread because I feel like it could go either way at this point. Win or lose, I think the Nuggets stay under their team total. If they win, they're probably going to do it with defense, or the Boston Celtics struggle offensively to travel in this spot. So that's the way that I went with this one. Kind of stayed away from the spread and just stayed with that team total under on the Nuggets side.
Doug Lane says he likes the final score 103-99 Denver. So we both cash in that instance. Probably, I actually don't even know what you think about this game.
I don't think much about this game. I don't really like it. I don't really see anything.
Oh, it's only the best game of the year. Probably doesn't like it.
Yeah. Nah, I don't like it. That's how I am. I like the shitty games. I love a good Pistons Hornets game on a Wednesday and a 2-game slate. Yeah, don't really have much for this one. I would probably just take the point with Denver at home. I mean, they're Denver and they're at home. Hello.
Expert. That's why he gets paid the big bucks for analysis like that. They're Denver and they're at home. I'll take it.
You forgot that part.
Yeah. 61%, 31% in favor of the Nuggets. So it looks like the community is siding towards Denver. Next up, final game. And I'm really struggling with this one because very obvious slap you in the face. It's the Bulls on the road getting points. They've been so profitable recently in that spot. Bulls as road dogs have been almost automatic. Trust me, I've won a lot of money betting the Bulls in this spot. But after that, you know what, I'll lead us off. But before I get into it, I'd like to get the poll running. And I'll give a little speech here before, because I don't even know what I'm betting. But I think the reason I'm undecided is pretty valid. So, like I said, the Bulls have been extremely profitable on the road catching points. That's been a great spot to bet Chicago. So, a Golden State team that hasn't been good at covering the number as home favorites, how do we not just blindly take the Bulls based on that? But after that, because obviously that's an angle for Chicago, after that, everything points to Golden State here. What's been the Chicago weakness defensively? The three-point shot above the break. Golden State shoots the shit out of the ball from out there. What's been the weak spot for Golden State defense? Well, actually, Golden State's defense has shifted recently, so maybe not quite as much. But what's been another weak spot for Golden State defensively? The fast break. Chicago doesn't run any. They're actually, I believe, dead last in fast break frequency and transition frequency. So on paper, I love this matchup for the Warriors. But I refuse to lay 8 points with Golden State at home against a team that just continues to cover as road dogs. So I am truly undecided. As much as I would like to be on a side, maybe one of these guys can talk me into something. But as of right now, I got nothing. Either you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I would go with the Warriors with the laying the points here. I know it sounds gross, but I mean, we just got to acknowledge that even with a sputtering offense lately, I mean, this team's now 14-4 against the spread their last 18 games. Yeah, as hard as it is to fade the Bulls, it's also hard to fade the Warriors. And they've continuously had this Bulls team's number. They've covered the last 13 to 17 matchups overall, 8 straight at Golden State. And the Warriors have been a great bet on back-to-backs this year, 8-4-1 against the spread. What I really like here is that the Bulls funnel shots to the above the break 3. Now, I believe they're second or first in efficiency during that span, but if you're going to give in to the Warriors' strength offensively, I just feel like that's a recipe for disaster. It's not like the Warriors aren't top 3 in efficiency as well in that spot. Warriors are 10-6 against the spread against teams just in the bottom 10 of frequency allowed of 3 points. So I have to go with the Warriors here.
Yo, I just said it in the chat here. This guy keeps asking me for 2-man locks. I don't even know what that is. What is a 2-man lock?
Just give him one, dude.
I don't know what that
is. I don't know what that is either, to be honest.
Yeah.
Anything with lock, I don't know what that is.
And then he just goes, tell Scoop we don't want to hear a shitty analysis. We just want a 2-man lock. Scoop's not even on the show. This guy.
Does he think I'm Scoop? Now I'm insulted.
I don't know. So, Ronald, it looks like there's a graphic here, which means you must have sent one. Chicago team total under, is that you?
There's two different ways that I was looking at this. I actually took the Warriors -8. But if you want to pivot, I think team total under on the Bulls side is a strong play. Probably ever brought up a lot of the second of back-to-back records, so I won't replicate that. But both teams, not a great spot, but at least the Warriors, they don't have to travel. Bulls have to travel from elevation. That's something that they got to deal with. The other thing to mention too is I always bring up like historical trends. You put together historical trends, you put together recent form, all that stuff. A historical trend that has been profitable to back the home favorite is when both teams are on the second leg of back-to-back games since 2019. 82 and 56 against the spread. That's nearly 60%. I think it's like 59 point something, whatever. So not a significant. I mean, obviously, our target is what, 56, 57%. That's your edge. We're getting 60% here on a pretty decent sample size through multiple years. Obviously we don't see it happen much, second to back on both teams, but that's one thing that pushed me over. The other piece is just the Warriors defense in general and how they've been playing recently. I think they're 13 and 2 to the under in their last 15, if I'm not mistaken. And a lot of it has to do with being able to limit their opponents on the defensive side of the ball. So if you don't trust the Warriors to with the -8, I think Bulls team total under is a really good spot here.
I like that. And like I said, one of the things that how you hurt this Golden State defense is run out in transition. The Bulls don't do that. I'm pulling it up now. Did Steph Curry go off in that game last night? 29. Okay. Because I know everyone was taking his over last night. I know the Bulls struggled.
They didn't play a lot of minutes either.
He played 31.
Yeah.
But it looks like the rest of the team didn't really play any minutes. All right. All right, I'll tell you, Prop Beaver.
Lay him.
I'm going to do it. This is on you if it misses, dude. This is
Lay him.
Hey, no, I got the Warriors -8 in my pocket too. But
is there hold on, let me see if I can build you took Golden State minus the points?
Yeah, like I said, the team total under is sort of a pivot. I mean, I like to give people options. If you don't trust the -8, the team total under is there as well. But I like the -8 here.
All right, I'm gonna build something real quick. How about
this game reeks of 30 from Clay off the bench? I can see it now.
It reeks of 30 from Clay off.
It reeks of it. I can't even. I'm getting a headache.
All right, so this, and we'll go with team props. Bulls. What do you have the team total at? 107. So there we go. I combined it. I did a same game parlay, so this is probably terribly valued. I combined both your bets. I'm telling both of you. I did Warriors -3.5, Bulls team total under 110.5. And I got it at -120, -125. There you go. So I combined both your bets. So this is on you guys if this doesn't hit. I'm blaming you two personally.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
All right.
At least it's not plus 1,000 something.
Yeah. Now it's time for a community parlay. Ronald looking to get his first win.
Come on, guys.
Make it happen. Make it happen.
Come on, community. Get Ronald in the win column here.
Come on.
Skis 3 for 4. Ronald's going up here.
I'm like 0-3.
Ronald can't get a dub. So we got Pistons money line, Pacers money line, Heat money line, definitely. Raptors Suns. They voted Raps. We'll put Raptors plus 10.5 in there. Wow, Ronald. The first thing is all dogs except for a -110 spread. So
at least it's a spread. At least it's a spread and not the money line.
Yeah. All right, Ronald. While they're voting, you want to tell them where they can check out your stuff?
Yeah. Most of my stuff is over at Waiter Talk. I do a show with them typically on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. I also do some
Monday, Wednesday, or Friday?
Yeah, it depends on the schedule. Like they don't put me on all the time. But that's fine with me. Like gives me opportunity to show up on other people's shows. I'm hoping that Thursday could be a consistent thing here on this show as well.
For sure.
I love doing this show. I think the community is awesome, even though they don't come up with the good parlays when I'm on. But for the most part, man, like I haven't been too active on Twitter, but you see it there. Kind of had a social media cleanse. It feels good to actually do that for a little bit. But I'm gonna pop back on, show some trends, provide free picks and videos and stuff like that. I love doing that stuff. Anyways, it's really about the community.
Yeah. If you tell me you want to be on Thursdays, I'll lock it in now. I won't ask anyone on Thursdays. You got you.
Yeah, let's make it happen.
Cool. All right. So the first leg for Ronald is Pistons money line, and he's on the Nets. Oh man.
Yeah, man.
That means
A fatal blow. A
Yeah.
fatal blow.
What a start. Here we go.
Wow.
Pistons. So either his bet has to lose or he's going to take another L. So Pacers and Heat got votes also. So if you voted for Pacers and Heat, you'll get another shot. So we got Spurs plus 11. We got Celtics, Nuggets. Nuggets won that. And we got Bulls, Warriors won. So Warriors money line. So hopefully he can get one chalky selection in there with the Warriors money line. Give him some hope.
Please.
You know what happened last time in the last parlay? I was opposite of one of the games too, and I won. So
yeah, you went Grizzlies.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Grizzlies Nets?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he went Nets.
He went Nets. We went Grizzlies. Grizzlies was on the community parlay. But there was another leg of that didn't hit also.
Yeah, we went the Pistons money line.
We went Pistons money line. Oh my God. That's
Yeah.
crazy. What are the chances of that? All right. So it looks like, oh man, Nuggets money line is going to be the second leg of this. I'll end the poll now. So it's Pistons money line, Nuggets money line. Oh, man, Ronald has the worst luck with this. Is going to be a plus 4-digiter.
We're starting off at plus 323. I mean,
so Warriors money line got a lot of votes, and I think that's going to get on there, which should help him out. But the other two that got votes, Heat money line, and what was the third one? Pacers money line. So first and second place of this one are going to be on. So that means at least one more dog is going to be. Oh no, the Pacers are short favorites. So I guess
be a dog.
For real.
I sent. Speaking of dogs, I sent you an underdog. Are we?
Oh
Doing
yeah,
that
definitely.
Okay.
We'll get the prop versus underdog right after with the community parlay. Nuggets are going to lose. This parlay's cooked. That's the positivity we're looking for here.
Thank you, man.
Give it a few more seconds. It looks like it's going to be Warriors and Pacers. So the guy's still asking for a two-man parlay. Did he explain what it is?
Guys, just somebody give it to him.
Someone give him a two-man parlay. What does he talk about, like player props?
Yeah, I mean, just do quickly over. I'm better give you a 4-leg parlay in 2 seconds.
Yeah, we're doing the underdog in 1 second. There are going to be 4 of them there. Pick 2. So we got 53% Warriors and Pacers.
Okay, that's plus 913. Poor Ron. Poor Ronald.
Plus 913. Ronald searching for his first community parlay win.
I don't even like all of these bets either. Like, I'm on I lean the opposite or I'm on the opposite. It's all good.
Pacers money line, Nuggets money line, Warriors money line, Pistons money line, plus 913. Ronald looking for his first win. And now let's bring up prop versus underdog real quick.
The 4-man.
Is this it right here? Miles Turner? Yep. All right, Prop Beaver, run through. You already ran through them, so you just run through the real quick.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everything we discussed today. Miles Turner over 1.5 3-pointers made. Should get tons of volume outside. PJ Washington, great spot against Miami. Emmanuel Quickly, point guards against Phoenix. Beautiful thing. Volume against Indy with Ant Edwards. All hires today. I need to get better at finding lowers, but we're going all hires today.
If you don't have an underdog fantasy account available in every state highlighted in this map, except for Florida, I got an updated map. If you're in one of these states, head over to the website or download the app. Make sure you use the promo code BET, B-E-T. That'll get you a $100 deposit bonus match. Everyone, thank you for watching. Ronald, thanks for joining. Everyone, make sure you go give him a follow. He's got a YouTube channel, too, that he posts stuff on. Make sure you click subscribe on that. We appreciate him taking the time to join. Hopefully see him next Thursday. We'll talk about it. Let's have ourselves a great night. We had a great one last night. Remember to bet responsibly. And, talk to you in the Discord. Later, guys.